The ocean always held a certain mystique for humanity, vast, untamed, and teeming with secrets no man could claim to own. For me, Captain Rogers, it wasn't just a frontier of water. It was a battleground where the echoes of something bigger, something cosmic, began to surface. It started on the Florida coast. I was visiting an old Navy buddy, spending a rare moment away from the endless reaches of space. The air smelled of salt and freedom, and the waves sang their eternal song. Yet, something about the water felt wrong. The currents shifted oddly. The fish scattered like panicked soldiers retreating from an unseen enemy. And then the reports began. Dead zones, entire stretches of the ocean, devoid of life. Coral reefs crumbled into dust, and the sea churned with a murky, unnatural blackness. At first, scientists blamed pollution or deep-sea earthquakes. But the patterns didn't match natural phenomena. Something or someone was destroying the oceans. That's when I got the call. "Captain Rogers," said the voice on the other end of the secure line. It belonged to Admiral Hall, one of the few people who could still pull me from retirement. "We've got a situation, classified. We need you to investigate." I didn't ask why me. When you've spent years exploring uncharted star systems and dodging alien threats, people tend to think you can handle anything. And so, I found myself aboard the USS Vigilance, a state-of-the-art research vessel, heading toward one of the ocean's newly dead zones. It didn't take long for the mystery to deepen. The crew was tense, their whispers filled with speculation. Some spoke of rogue nations testing experimental weapons. Others whispered about alien incursions, but no one took them seriously. No one except me. I had seen too much out there, beyond the stars, to dismiss the idea so easily. Then we met them. They arrived in sleek suits, their smiles polished like campaign promises. Introducing themselves as marine biologists, they carried credentials too perfect to be true. Dr. Eva Sinclair, the leader of their group, had an air of effortless confidence. Her piercing blue eyes seemed to see through people, and her voice was as smooth as the ocean's surface before a storm. But I've been around long enough to know when something doesn't add up. Sinclair and her team claimed to be investigating the same phenomenon, yet their presence raised more questions than answers. They avoided direct interaction with the crew, spent hours alone in the labs, and most suspiciously, showed no signs of being unnerved by the devastation we witnessed. The breaking point came when one of my crewmen, Ensign Blake, stumbled into their quarters late one night. He'd been looking for a misplaced data tablet, but what he found was far more disturbing. An intricate device, pulsing with a faint green glow, inscribed with symbols no human language could replicate. Blake reported to me immediately, and we confronted Sinclair. She didn't even try to deny it. Instead, she smiled. Cold, predatory. "Captain Rogers," she said, her voice dripping with mockery. "There's no point in hiding the truth anymore. You wouldn't understand anyway." But I did understand. They weren't human. They were something else entirely. Beings from another world, masquerading as us, blending in seamlessly. And their goal wasn't to save the oceans. It was to destroy them. Sinclair's parting words that night haunt me still. "The ocean holds something we need, something buried for eons. And if we have to break this world to find it, so be it." That's when I knew this wasn't just about Earth. It was about the survival of something far greater. The morning after Sinclair's confession, the USS Vigilance cut through the dead waters like a knife through silence. The ocean's surface was eerily still, reflecting a gray, lifeless sky. Beneath us, sonar scans revealed something massive buried deep below, a structure that defied explanation. "Captain," said Chief Engineer Lopez, her voice shaky as she pointed at the monitor, "these readings don't match anything we've seen before. It's not rock, and it's definitely not man-made." "What is it then?" I asked, though I already suspected the answer. "Metal," she replied, "but it's ancient, and it's humming." The hum was faint, almost imperceptible, but as we hovered above the site, it grew stronger, resonating through the ship like a heartbeat. Whatever lay beneath us wasn't just buried, it was alive in some sense, pulsing with energy that defied our instruments. Sinclair and her team were nowhere to be found when I ordered the submersible deployed. Ensign Blake, still shaken from his encounter with their alien device, volunteered to pilot the dive. "I want answers, Captain," he said, determination replacing his usual nervous energy. "Be careful down there," I warned. The submersible descended into the inky depths, its lights cutting through the murk. Blake's voice crackled over the comms as he narrated his findings. "It's huge, sir," he said, his awe evident even through the static. "Looks like a ship, but not like any ship we've ever built." My stomach tightened. A ship buried beneath the ocean floor for eons? The implications were staggering. Suddenly the comms went silent. "Blake, report," I barked. But there was no response. Then came the scream. It was a sound I'll never forget. A mix of terror and something primal, like the roar of a predator claiming its kill. Moments later, the submersible's feed went dark. "Retrieve him now," I ordered, my voice rising above the chaos on the bridge. The retrieval winch groaned as it dragged the submersible back to the surface, but when it emerged, its cockpit was empty. Blake was gone. The crew was shaken, and I could see the fear in their eyes. Yet Sinclair remained calm, almost smug, as if she'd expected this all along. "You have no idea what you're dealing with, Captain," she said, cornering me in the corridor later that night. "Then enlighten me," I snapped. She leaned in, her expression devoid of the humanity she pretended to possess. "That ship below isn't from your world. It came here long before your kind crawled out of the caves. And it holds something we need. A core of infinite energy, the key to saving our people. At the cost of destroying ours," I shot back. Sinclair's smile returned, cold and calculated. "Collateral damage." I knew then that diplomacy was pointless. These beings didn't see us as equals. To them we were obstacles, insects standing between them and their prize. That night I gathered my senior officers for a briefing. "We're not just dealing with alien technology," I said, pacing the room. "We're dealing with aliens themselves, and they'll stop at nothing to get what they want. If we don't act now, they'll tear this planet apart." "But how do we stop them, sir?" Lopez asked, her voice trembling. I didn't have an answer. All I knew was that we had to find a way to reach the buried ship before they did, and destroy whatever lay inside, no matter the cost. The next day, the USS Vigilance anchored directly above the alien wreckage. The air on the bridge was tense as the crew worked tirelessly to prepare for a new dive. We weren't just investigating anymore. We were going to war. Chief Engineer Lopez and her team rigged a remotely operated vehicle, ROV, with explosives. The plan was simple. Get the ROV close to the alien structure, plant the charges, and blow it to hell before Sinclair and her team could interfere. But plans rarely survive first contact with the enemy. Halfway through preparations, the ship's alarms blared, jolting everyone into action. "Captain!" shouted Communications Officer Daniels, his face pale. "Unidentified objects approaching fast. Subsurface." I rushed to the monitors and saw them. Sleek, organic-looking crafts, moving with impossible speed, evasive maneuvers. I barked. The Vigilance lurched as the first alien craft broke the surface, its black hull shimmering like oil in the sunlight. Before we could react, it unleashed a beam of energy that slammed into our port side, sending sparks and debris flying. "Return fire." Our ship's cannons roared to life, but the alien crafts were too agile. They danced around our defenses, firing precise shots that disabled key systems. Then they stopped. The silence that followed was almost worse than the attack. Through the smoke and chaos, I saw Sinclair and her team standing calmly on the deck, their human disguises slipping. Their skin shimmered briefly, revealing glimpses of their true forms. Tall, sinewy beings with eyes that glowed like molten gold. "You've seen too much, Captain," Sinclair said, her voice carrying an otherworldly resonance. "This isn't your fight. You made it our fight when you started destroying our planet," I shot back. Her expression hardened. "You don't understand. That core below is our only hope. Without it, my people will perish. We've already lost one galaxy. We won't lose another." "And what about my people?" She didn't answer. Instead, she raised a hand, and the alien crafts began circling the ship again. their weapons primed. Desperation breeds clarity. I knew we couldn't win a direct fight. "Lopez," I said, lowering my voice. "Is the ROV operational?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Good. Launch it now under manual control. I'll handle Sinclair." Lopez's eyes widened, but she didn't argue. She disappeared into the control room as I turned to face Sinclair. "You think you can just take what you want?" I asked, stepping closer. Sinclair tilted her head, curious. "You're brave, Captain, but bravery won't save you." I threw the first punch. It was reckless, maybe even suicidal, but it bought us time. Her reflexes were inhumanly fast, and she countered easily, slamming me against the bulkhead. "You can't stop us," she hissed, her golden eyes burning with fury. But she underestimated my crew. From the control room, Lopez guided the ROV toward the alien structure, the explosives armed and ready. The feed on the monitor showed the ship's intricate design, a mix of sharp angles and flowing lines, pulsating with green light. "We're in position, Captain." Lopez's voice crackled over the comms. "Just say the word." I glanced at Sinclair, who had pinned me against the wall. "You don't have to do this," she said, her voice softer now. "The core could save billions, and it could destroy billions more," I replied. Her hesitation was all I needed. I twisted free and slammed my fist into the emergency comm button. "Lopez, detonate, now!" The explosion was deafening, even from the surface. A column of water shot into the sky, and the Vigilance rocked violently as shock waves rippled outward. Sinclair screamed, a guttural, inhuman sound, before collapsing to the deck. The alien craft stopped their assault, hovering uncertainly before retreating beneath the waves. When the chaos subsided, Sinclair's body was gone, leaving only a faint golden shimmer where she had fallen. On the frozen feed from the ROV, the alien ship's surface was alive with movement. Intricate patterns, almost organic in nature, pulsed with green energy. But it wasn't just the ship that drew my attention. It was the object at its core, a sphere, no larger than a basketball, hovered in the center of the wreckage, radiating light in slow, deliberate pulses. "What is that?" I muttered, leaning closer. "I think it's what they're after," Lopez said. Her voice wavered. "But Captain, it's still intact." The detonation hadn't destroyed the ship entirely. The outer structure was mangled, but the core remained untouched, as if it had absorbed the blast. Before I could respond, a faint hum filled the air. It was subtle at first, almost imperceptible, but it grew steadily louder, resonating through the ship's metal walls. The vibration sent a chill down my spine. "Sir, I think it's reacting to something," Lopez said, her fingers flying over the controls. Suddenly, the ship's lights flickered. The hum became a low roar, and the remaining electronics on the bridge sparked wildly. "It's coming from the core!" Lopez shouted. I grabbed the intercom. "All hands, prepare for emergency procedures. Brace for impact." But there was no impact. At least, not the kind we expected. The hum reached a deafening crescendo, and then everything stopped. The lights, the alarms, even the movement of the ocean outside the windows, all frozen in an unnatural stillness. And then I heard it. A voice, deep and resonant, echoing inside my mind. "Captain Rogers, you have seen what should remain unseen." It wasn't Sinclair or any of her kind. This was something far older, far more powerful. "Who are you?" I asked aloud, my voice shaking. "I am the Keeper," the voice replied. "Guardian of the infinite core. Your kind was never meant to find this place. Then why is it here?" I demanded. "Why bury something so dangerous on our planet?" There was a pause, a silence that felt heavier than words. "Your world was chosen as a sanctuary," the Keeper said finally, "a refuge for what remains of a dying galaxy. But your oceans are fragile, your species reckless. The core's awakening will bring ruin to both." Before I could respond, the hum returned, and the frozen world around us jolted back to life. The lights flickered once more, and the bridge erupted into chaos as the crew tried to make sense of what had just happened. "Captain," Lopez said urgently, "we have incoming signals. More alien crafts, and they're not retreating this time." I clenched my fists. Whatever was happening, it was clear we were running out of time. The hum of the core lingered in my ears as the alien crafts closed in. This time, their formation was tighter, their intent unmistakable. They weren't just trying to disable us. They were coming to finish the job. "Lopez, status report," I barked, gripping the edge of the command console as the Vigilance rocked from side to side. "Shields are down to 15%, and the engines are barely holding," she shouted back. "Captain, we can't survive another direct hit." The alien crafts emerged from the water, their sleek black forms hovering ominously over the ship. Their weapon ports glowed, ready to fire. But then, something unexpected happened. The ocean below began to glow with the same green light as the core. The water churned violently, rising in massive spirals that defied gravity. The alien crafts faltered in their attack, their movements hesitant. "What the hell is happening?" Lopez muttered, her eyes wide as she watched the display. The voice returned, echoing in my mind. "The core is awakening. Those who seek it shall face judgment." I didn't know whether to feel relief or dread. The Keeper, whoever or whatever it was, had intervened. But at what cost? Before I could ask, the alien crafts opened fire. Not on us, but on the glowing water below. Their beams sliced through the spirals, sending shockwaves through the ocean. "They're trying to disable the core," Lopez yelled. "Or control it," I corrected. The ship shuddered as one of the alien beams grazed the hull, and I knew we had to act fast. "Lopez, divert all remaining power to the weapon systems," I ordered. "Captain, if we do that, we'll lose life support." "Do it," I snapped. "We're dead if we don't fight back." The Vigilance's cannons roared to life, their fire focused on the largest alien craft. The blast struck true, tearing through its hull and sending it spiraling into the ocean. The crew erupted in cheers, but I didn't celebrate. The glowing spirals of water began to collapse, and the ocean churned with an unnatural force. The core wasn't just awakening, it was destabilizing. "Captain," Lopez said, her voice trembling, "if the core destabilizes, it could cause a chain reaction. The entire planet's ecosystem will be wiped out," I finished for her. It was a nightmare scenario. We were caught between an alien force determined to claim the core and a power we couldn't hope to control. The voice returned, this time louder, more forceful. "Choose, Captain. Protect the core or destroy it. There is no middle ground." The choice was impossible. Protecting the core meant risking it falling into alien hands, but destroying it could mean the loss of a resource that could save countless lives across the galaxy. I turned to Lopez, the weight of the decision heavy on my shoulders. "If we destroy it, can we do it safely?" I asked. She hesitated, then shook her head. "There's no guarantee, sir. The energy release would be catastrophic." I looked out at the chaos unfolding around us, my mind racing. This wasn't just about Earth anymore. It was about the balance of power in a universe far larger than we'd ever imagined. The sea around the Vigilance churned violently, a maelstrom of green light and boiling waves. The alien ships had regrouped, their formation tighter, their movements more aggressive. The battle wasn't just about us anymore. It was about the fate of the core, and by extension, the planet. "Captain, we've got 3 minutes before the core destabilizes completely," Lopez shouted over the chaos. "If it collapses, we're looking at a planetary-scale event." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. I gripped the railing, my mind racing. We didn't have the luxury of hesitation. "Chief, prep the emergency evacuation pods," I ordered. Lopez's eyes widened. "You can't be serious." "Just in case," I said, though we both knew there was no guarantee any of us would survive if the core went critical. The alien crafts made another pass, their energy beams slamming into the water. But instead of disrupting the core, their attacks seemed to stabilize it. "Wait," Lopez said, staring at the monitor. "They're not trying to destroy it. They're synchronizing with it. They're activating it." The revelation sent a chill down my spine. "Bridge, we need to stop them," I shouted. "Target their lead ship and fire everything we've got." The Vigilance roared to life, its weapon systems pushing past their limits. The lead alien craft took the brunt of the assault, its sleek hull shattering under the impact. But as it fell, something unexpected happened. A beam of pure green energy erupted from the core, striking the alien wreckage. The energy pulsed, rippling through the ocean, and suddenly, the core's hum shifted. It was no longer erratic. It was steady, deliberate, as if responding to a command. "That's not good," Lopez muttered. The keeper's voice returned, louder than ever, resonating through the ship. "The core has chosen its protectors. You have failed, Captain." I clenched my fists. "Like hell I have." The glowing water began to rise again, this time forming a massive pillar that reached into the stormy sky. The alien crafts pulled back, retreating into the ocean's depths, leaving us alone with the spiraling column of energy. "Captain, we need to leave," Lopez shouted, but I couldn't tear my eyes away. The core wasn't just reacting, it was transforming. The energy coalesced into a shape, a massive crystalline structure that hovered just above the water. "Sir," Lopez said, her voice trembling, "that thing is pulling energy from the planet itself. If it keeps going, it'll drain everything." I gritted my teeth, torn between two impossible choices. Destroying the core might save the planet, but it could also unleash catastrophic energy. Leaving it intact meant gambling on an unknown force with motives far beyond our understanding. "Lopez," I said finally, my voice steady, "prep the last of the explosives. We're taking that thing out." "Captain, if we're wrong about this..." "I know," I interrupted. "But if we do nothing, we lose everything." Lopez hesitated, then nodded, her resolve hardening. "Aye, sir." As the crew scrambled to arm the explosives, the core's energy pulses grew stronger, shaking the ship violently. I could feel the weight of the decision pressing down on me, but there was no turning back now. The crew worked frantically as the Vigilance rocked under the increasing energy surges from the core. Each pulse sent tremors through the ocean, and I knew time was running out. The crystalline structure above the water had grown larger, its edges sharp and glowing with an unnatural light. It wasn't just pulling energy, it was consuming the very fabric of the ocean, leaving behind dead zones that spread outward like ripples. "Explosives are ready, Captain," Lopez called, her voice strained. I nodded, staring out at the glowing monolith. "We'll have one shot at this. Get the ROV into position." Lopez hesitated. "Sir, the ROV won't make it close enough to the core with the energy field active. It'll burn out before we can detonate." I clenched my fists. Of course it wouldn't be that simple. "Then we'll have to deliver the charges manually," I said. A heavy silence fell over the bridge. The crew exchanged uneasy glances, but no one dared question me. They knew what this meant. "I'll do it," Lopez said, stepping forward. "No," I replied firmly. "This is on me." "Captain, enough," I interrupted, my tone leaving no room for argument. "You're the only one who can keep this ship running. I need you here, Lopez." She opened her mouth to protest, but stopped when she saw the determination in my eyes. "Aye, sir," she said finally, her voice barely a whisper. I turned to the rest of the crew. "Maintain position and keep the aliens off our backs. No matter what happens, don't let them near the core." With that, I donned the dive suit and grabbed the detonator. The world felt heavier as I stepped onto the deck, the weight of the mission pressing down on me. The glowing pillar of energy loomed ahead, its hum vibrating through my chest like a second heartbeat. "Captain, we've got movement." Daniel's voice crackled over the comms. "Alien crafts inbound, and they're not holding back this time." I glanced back at the ship as the first wave of alien fire rained down. The Vigilance returned fire, its cannons roaring defiantly despite the damage. "This is Rogers," I said into the comm, my voice steady. "Hold them off as long as you can. I'll finish this." The dive into the water was disorienting. The currents swirled violently around me, and the light from the core bathed everything in an eerie green glow. As I approached the crystalline structure, the temperature dropped sharply, and the hum grew louder, almost deafening. "Captain, you're entering the energy field." Lopez's voice warned through the comms. "I see it," I replied, my breath steady despite the pressure. The crystalline core seemed alive, its surface shifting like a living organism. Strange symbols etched themselves into its glowing surface, and I couldn't shake the feeling that it was watching me. When I reached the base, I placed the explosives carefully, my hands steady despite the turbulence around me. The timer on the detonator blinked to life, counting down from 5 minutes. "Charges are set," I said. "I'm heading back." But as I turned to leave, the crystalline structure pulsed violently. sending a shockwave that knocked me back. My suit's systems flickered and the comms went silent. That's when I saw it. Emerging from the core was a figure, tall, ethereal, and made entirely of light. Its form shifted constantly, as if struggling to maintain cohesion. It spoke without words, its presence pressing into my mind like a tidal wave. "You would destroy what you do not understand," it said, its voice a blend of countless tones. "You're killing our planet," I replied, my voice muffled through the suit. "I won't let that happen." The being's light flared and I felt its anger. This world was chosen as a cradle, not a battlefield. "You are unworthy of the core's power." I didn't have time to argue. The timer was ticking, and I could see the alien crafts above the water, closing in on the vigilance. "I may not be worthy," I said, gripping the detonator, "but neither are you." The being hesitated, its form flickering. For a brief moment, I thought I saw something. Regret, maybe even understanding. "Then you leave us no choice," it said. The next thing I knew, the light enveloped me and the world went dark. When I woke, everything was different. The water around me was calm, unnaturally so, and I floated weightless in a green-tinged void. My suit systems were silent. No hum of power, no static from the comms. It was as if time itself had paused. Then I heard it, the voice of the Keeper, clearer now, resonating from all directions. "Captain Rogers, you have forced our hand. The core does not wish to destroy, but your actions have escalated this conflict beyond what was foreseen." I tried to move, but my body felt distant, as if I were an observer in my own skin. "Where am I?" I demanded. "You are within the core's essence. It has chosen to show you what lies beyond your understanding." The green void around me shifted, dissolving into an expansive vision. Stars blinked into existence, galaxies spinning in slow, deliberate dances. Then I saw them, the remnants of a great civilization. Massive structures floated in the abyss, shattered and lifeless, their edges glowing faintly with residual energy. "This was our home," the Keeper said. "A galaxy consumed by greed and war, its resources drained to fuel endless conflict. The core was the last gift of a dying people, a source of infinite energy meant to preserve life. But it became a weapon, coveted by all, and it destroyed us." I watched as the vision shifted, showing a massive explosion that tore through the galaxy, wiping out stars and planets alike. My chest tightened. This wasn't just a story, it was a warning. "You brought the core here," I said, my voice trembling, "to Earth. Your world was untouched, hidden from the chaos of the stars. The core slumbered in your oceans, safe from those who would abuse its power. Until now." The scene shifted again, this time showing Earth. The oceans glowed faintly with the core's energy, its influence stretching into the very fabric of the planet. But then came the aliens, Sinclair's people. They descended upon Earth like locusts, tearing through the oceans in search of the core. They were drawn by the core's awakening, the Keeper continued. "They believe it can save their kind, but they will only repeat the cycle of destruction." The vision faded, and I was back in the green void. My mind raced with the implications. The core wasn't just a source of energy. It was a remnant of a lost civilization, a burden of unimaginable power. "Then why let it remain here?" I asked. "Why not destroy it before this started?" "The core cannot be destroyed without catastrophic consequences. It is bound to the life of your planet, as it was bound to ours. To destroy it is to destroy everything." I swallowed hard, the weight of the truth pressing down on me. "So what do we do? Just let it fall into their hands?" "No," the Keeper said, its voice resolute. "You must protect the core, but you must also ensure it remains dormant. Its power cannot be wielded, not by your kind or theirs." The green void began to shift again, this time pulling me back toward the surface. "Wait," I shouted. "How am I supposed to stop them?" The Keeper's final words echoed in my mind as the vision faded. "You will know what to do when the time comes. But be warned, this is not just your fight, Captain. It is the fight of your entire species." Suddenly, I was back in the ocean. the violent currents returning with full force. My suit's systems blinked to life and Lopez's voice crackled through the comms. "Captain, are you alive down there? We thought we lost you." "I'm here," I replied, my voice steady despite the storm raging around me. "Get the ship ready. We've got work to do." As I swam back toward the surface, the core's light pulsed faintly, as if watching me. I didn't know what lay ahead, but one thing was clear. This wasn't just about the core anymore. This was about ensuring humanity's place in a universe far larger and more dangerous than we'd ever imagined. Back aboard the Vigilance, the atmosphere was tense. The crew looked to me for answers, but the truth weighed too heavily on my shoulders. How could I explain what I had seen? That the core was both a gift and a curse, a relic of a civilization that had destroyed itself trying to wield it? Lopez approached me on the bridge, her face etched with worry. "Captain, we've stabilized the ship for now, but the energy from the core is still building. If those alien crafts return, they will," I interrupted. "This isn't over." Daniels, the comms officer, chimed in from his station. "Sir, we're picking up a new signal. Multiple signatures inbound." "It's them," I clenched my fists. "How many?" Daniels hesitated. "More than before. A fleet." The bridge fell silent as the weight of the situation sank in. We were outnumbered, outgunned, and barely holding together. "They're not here just for the core anymore," I said, pacing the deck. "They're here to make sure we can't interfere." Lopez glanced at me, her voice tinged with hesitation. "Captain, if we can't fight them off, maybe we should leave, regroup, and come back with reinforcements." "And give them time to activate the core?" I shook my head. "No. If we leave, we lose everything." The ship's intercom crackled and Sinclair's voice, calm and mocking, filled the room. "Captain Rogers," she said, her tone dripping with condescension, "you've been a thorn in our side for far too long. Surrender now, and I might consider sparing your crew." I grabbed the nearest mic. "Not a chance, Sinclair. You've underestimated us before. Don't make the same mistake again." Her laughter echoed through the ship. "Brave words, Captain, but bravery won't save you from what's coming." The comms cut out, leaving us in an uneasy silence. Lopez turned to me. "What's the plan, sir?" I looked around the bridge, my mind racing. The core was the key to everything, both the aliens' power and their vulnerability. If we could disrupt its connection to them, we might have a chance. "Lopez, what's the status of our remaining explosives?" I asked. "We've got enough for one more strike," she said, her voice uncertain. "But we'll need to get close. Too close." "Then we'll do it manually," I said. Daniel stood up, his face pale. "Captain, that's a suicide mission." "Maybe," I replied, locking eyes with him. "But if we don't act, there won't be a ship left to save." I gathered the senior crew for a briefing. The plan was simple. We'd use the ship as a distraction to draw the alien fleet away, while I deployed the explosives directly to the core. It was risky, desperate even, but it was the only option left. "Captain," Lopez said, her voice trembling, "you don't have to do this. Let me go instead." "No," I said firmly. "This is my responsibility." The crew nodded, their faces grim but resolute. We all knew the odds, but there was no room for doubt. As the Vigilance powered up its remaining engines, the alien fleet appeared on the horizon, their ships glinting ominously in the light of the glowing core. "This is it," I said, gripping the railing. "All stations, prepare for engagement." The battle began with a fury I hadn't anticipated. The alien crafts swarmed us, their weapons cutting through the water and air like blades. The Vigilance fought back with everything it had, but the ship groaned under the strain. "Lopez, keep them focused on us," I shouted over the din. "I'm heading out." With the explosives in hand, I donned my dive suit and prepared to launch. The core loomed in the distance, its light pulsing in sync with the chaos around it. "Good luck, Captain," Lopez's voice crackled through my helmet. "Keep them busy," I replied. "I'll finish this." As I plunged into the water, the alien crafts turned their attention to me. Their beams sliced through the waves, but the Vigilance's cannons roared, forcing them to divert their fire. The core grew larger as I approached, its energy surging with a power that shook me to my core. Almost there, I muttered, setting the explosives against the crystalline structure. But as I armed the detonator, the keeper's voice returned, louder and more forceful than ever. Captain Rogers, you do not understand what you are doing. The core is not the enemy. It is your salvation. I froze, my hand hovering over the detonator. The words echoed in my mind, their meaning unclear. What do you mean? I asked, my voice trembling. Destroy the core, and you destroy the balance. Protect it, and you protect your future. The decision weighed heavier than ever. The alien fleet loomed above, the vigilance barely holding together. The core pulsed beneath me, its energy both terrifying and mesmerizing. Time was running out. The core pulsed with a rhythm that felt almost alive, its green light casting shifting shadows in the depths around me. The keeper's words echoed in my mind, but the reality of the situation was pressing down like the crushing weight of the ocean itself. Above, the vigilance fought valiantly, its weapons roaring against the alien fleet. Each explosion reverberated through the water, a stark reminder that my time was running out. Destroy the core, and you destroy the balance, the keeper had said. But what balance? And at what cost? Captain, we're not going to last much longer. Lopez's voice crackled through the comm. Her words were laced with desperation. I stared at the detonator in my hand, its red light blinking steadily. One press, and the core would be gone, or so I thought. The keeper's warnings made it clear. This wasn't just about the core or the aliens. It was about something far bigger, something I barely understood. Keeper, I said aloud, my voice trembling in the comms. If the core is so important, why are they trying to take it? Why destroy our oceans? The keeper's voice returned, calm but with an edge of urgency. The core is a lifeline, a beacon of survival. The aliens you face are remnants of a dying galaxy. They seek the core not for power, but for salvation. Yet, they do not understand the consequences of their actions. Activating the core will consume your planet to sustain them. I gritted my teeth. And if I destroy it? The core's energy is intertwined with the life force of your planet. To destroy it risks a cataclysm beyond your imagining. But to allow it to be taken will doom you all. You must protect it without destroying it. The words were maddening. Protect it without destroying it? How was that even possible? I glanced at the glowing structure. The symbols on its surface shifted, forming patterns that almost looked like writing. For a brief moment, I felt a strange connection to the core, as if it was reaching out to me, trying to show me something. Then the water shook violently. Captain! Lopez's voice came through again. They're concentrating all fire on the ship. We can't hold them off much longer. Above me, I saw the faint silhouettes of the alien crafts circling the vigilance like vultures. The ship was in tatters, its hull glowing red-hot from repeated blasts. I knew what I had to do. Lopez, this is Rogers, I said, my voice steady. Prepare the crew for evacuation. Get everyone off the vigilance. That's an order. There was a pause. Captain, what about you? Just do it, I snapped, my tone leaving no room for argument. As the crew scrambled to launch the lifeboats, I turned back to the core. Its light was almost blinding now, and the symbols on its surface began to shift faster, as if reacting to my presence. Keeper, I said, my voice softer this time. If I can't destroy it and I can't let them have it, what's the third option? The keeper's voice was faint now, almost like a whisper. The core responds to intent. If you are willing to sacrifice, it may choose to bond with you. But be warned, Captain, this path is irreversible. You will become its guardian, bound to it for eternity. The weight of those words was immeasurable. To protect the core, I would have to give up everything. My crew, my life, my very humanity. But as I looked up at the vigilance, its hull breaking apart under the relentless assault, I knew there was no other choice. I'll do it, I said, my voice barely audible. The core pulsed once, its light intensifying. The keeper's voice returned, this time with an almost reverent tone. Then it is done. A surge of energy shot through me, and for a moment I felt as if I were being torn apart and rebuilt at the same time. The ocean around me disappeared, replaced by an endless expanse of light and stars. The core's symbols burned themselves into my mind, their meaning suddenly clear. I wasn't just protecting the core, I was becoming part of it. When the light faded, I found myself standing, not in the depths of the ocean, but in an endless expanse of stars. The core floated before me, no longer a massive crystalline structure, but a sphere of pure energy. Symbols danced across its surface, and I felt their meaning in my mind as if they were my own thoughts. I wasn't Captain Rogers anymore. Not fully. You have accepted the bond. The keeper's voice echoed, now coming from within me. The core is no longer just an artifact. It is part of you, and you are part of it. The weight of the realization hit me like a tidal wave. My thoughts expanded, my perception stretching far beyond my physical body. I could feel the core's energy pulsing through the planet, its connection to the oceans, the atmosphere, even the life it nurtured. But I also felt the intruders. The alien fleet was relentless, their crafts tearing through the waters above, targeting the remnants of the vigilance. My crew was escaping in lifeboats, their signals faint but alive. I focused on them, and with a thought, I felt the core respond. A wave of energy erupted from the ocean, forming a protective barrier around the lifeboats. Your power is immense but unrefined, the keeper warned. You must focus. Protect the planet without unleashing destruction. Above, the alien crafts shifted their attention to me, or rather, to the core. Their weapons fired, beams of energy slicing through the water, but they disintegrated before reaching me. Captain, Lopez's voice came through the comms, though faint and filled with static. What's happening? What's going on down there? I hesitated, unsure how to respond. How could I explain what I'd become? Lopez, I finally said, my voice steady but changed, resonating with the same energy as the core. Get the crew to safety. I'll handle the rest. Captain, no, we can come back for you. There's no coming back, I interrupted. This is my fight now. Take care of them, Lopez. That's an order. The connection cut off, and I turned my attention to the alien fleet. They were relentless, their crafts circling like predators, but I could feel their desperation. They weren't just fighting for the core, they were fighting for their survival. One of the ships broke formation, descending rapidly toward the core. I extended my thoughts, and a wave of energy erupted, pushing it back. But with every use of the core's power, I felt the strain growing, the bond pulling me deeper. Be careful, Guardian, the keeper said. The core's power is infinite, but your mortal form is not. You must find balance. I didn't have time to find balance. The largest alien craft descended, its hull glowing with an ominous light, a weapon on its underside charged, and I could feel the energy building, aimed directly at the core. No, I said, my voice echoing with newfound authority. The core reacted instantly, its energy flaring brighter than ever. I extended my hand, instinctively, though it no longer felt like my own, and a beam of pure light erupted, striking the alien craft. The weapon disintegrated, and the ship reeled backward, retreating into the depths. One by one, the remaining ships followed suit, retreating into the shadows of the ocean. The battle was over, but the cost was immeasurable. The ocean calmed, the green light fading into a gentle glow. The core pulsed steadily, its energy stabilizing. But I knew the truth. This wasn't an end, it was a beginning. I could feel the weight of the core's power, its connection to the planet and the life it sustained. I had become its guardian, its protector, but in doing so, I had left behind everything I once was. Above, the vigilance was gone, replaced by the faint silhouettes of lifeboats drifting toward the horizon. My crew would survive, and for now, Earth was safe. But I would remain, bound to the core, a part of its eternal cycle. What now? I asked, my voice echoing in the vast emptiness. The keeper's voice returned, softer this time. Now you watch, you learn, and when the time comes, you defend. I looked out at the endless ocean, the stars reflecting in its surface. The core pulsed within me, a constant reminder of the burden I now carried. Until then, I whispered, my voice carrying across the waves. Weeks passed since the alien fleet retreated, but the echoes of that battle lingered. The core, now intertwined with my existence, pulsed gently within the depths. It was quiet, too quiet. From my new perspective as the core's guardian, I saw the world differently. Every tide, every current, and every faint vibration of life across the oceans resonated with me. I felt the balance that the keeper had warned about and the fragile peace Earth was granted. But the quiet didn't last. One night, as the core's energy hummed steadily, I felt a disruption. A ripple across the vast, interconnected network of life that stretched beyond the Earth. Something was coming. They have returned, the keeper's voice warned, but not as you knew them. A greater force approaches, drawn by the core's awakening. A vision filled my mind, a massive ship, larger than any we'd faced before, drifting through the black void of space. It was ancient, its hull scarred by countless battles. It wasn't Sinclair's fleet. This was something far older and more dangerous. I reached out, trying to understand its purpose, and the response was immediate. A deafening roar of rage and hunger that echoed through my thoughts. What are they? I asked, the question burning in my mind. A race of scavengers, known only as the Collectors, the keeper replied. They have hunted the remnants of the core's creators across galaxies. They consume what they cannot control. If they reach Earth, they will not stop until everything is ash. The gravity of the situation hit me like a tidal wave. The Collectors weren't just coming for the core, they were coming to strip the planet bare. I turned my focus outward, reaching across the ocean to the faint signals of human communication. Despite the bond with the core, I still clung to my role as Captain Rogers, protector of Earth. Lopez, I said aloud, knowing she might still be listening. Static answered at first, but then her voice broke through, faint and filled with disbelief. Captain, is that you? It's me, I replied, my voice steady but laced with urgency. I don't have much time, but I need you to listen. Something is coming, something far worse than what we've faced before. You need to warn Earth. Captain, where are you? What's happening down there? She asked, her voice trembling. I'm exactly where I need to be, I said, but you need to rally what's left of the fleet. Earth needs to prepare. Prepare for what? I hesitated, the weight of the answer pressing down on me. War. The connection faded as I pulled back, focusing on the core. The Collectors were close, their massive ship entering the solar system. I could feel their intent, a relentless drive to consume and destroy. You are the Guardian, the Keeper said. This is your test. Protect the core, or all will be lost. The ocean churned violently as the core's energy began to surge. I felt its power coursing through me, more intense than before, but it came with a cost. The strain was immense, and I knew my time was limited. Then let's finish this, I said, steeling myself for what was to come. The horizon darkened as the Collector's ship entered Earth's atmosphere, its shadow stretching across the ocean. From my vantage point, I felt their presence, a mass of hunger and cruelty, intent on devouring the core and leaving nothing behind. The core pulsed within me, its energy coursing through my veins. I had become its guardian, but even with this newfound power, the odds were daunting. The Collector's ship was vast, bristling with weapons, and protected by an energy field unlike anything I had ever encountered. The core's power is limitless, the Keeper's voice reminded me, but wield it recklessly, and you risk destroying everything you aim to protect. Above, the remnants of Earth's fleet, hastily assembled and led by Lopez, converged. Their ships were battered, their numbers too few. Yet they came, driven by the same stubborn will that defined humanity. Captain Rogers, Lopez's voice crackled through the comms. We're here, but we're outgunned. What's the plan? I focused, projecting my thoughts outward. Lopez, concentrate fire on the Collector's weapons systems. I'll handle the rest. Handle the rest? She replied, incredulous. What are you? Her voice cut out as I extended the core's power, a shimmering shield enveloping the fleet. The first salvo of the Collector's weapons struck, but the shield held, absorbing the impact and redirecting the energy into the ocean below. The battle erupted in full force. The Collector's ship unleashed its arsenal, beams of energy tearing through the sky. Earth's fleet responded, their cannons lighting up the darkness. Yet, for all their courage, the Collectors pressed forward, their ship seemingly indestructible. It was up to me. I dove deeper into the core's energy, letting it guide me. My body no longer felt entirely human. Every movement was an extension of the core's will. With a thought, I unleashed a wave of energy, striking the collector's ship. Its shield flickered, and I saw my chance. "Lopez, target their engines," I commanded. The fleet obeyed, focusing their fire on the rear of the massive ship. The collectors retaliated, their beams slicing through two of Earth's smaller vessels. The loss was devastating, but the attack weakened their defenses. The core pulsed urgently within me, and I knew what it wanted. The Keeper's voice returned, calm yet resolute. "The core must be returned to the stars. Its presence here endangers all life. You have the strength to send it away, but it will cost you everything." I didn't hesitate. "What do I have to do?" "Channel the core's energy. Create a gateway. It will draw the collectors with it, removing their threat from this galaxy." I turned my thoughts outward one last time. "Lopez, this is it. Get the fleet clear. I'm ending this." "Captain, no," she shouted, her voice breaking. "This is the only way," I replied. "Take care of Earth, Lopez. You've got this." As the fleet retreated, I focused every ounce of the core's power into a single act. The ocean erupted in light, and the air itself seemed to split apart as a gateway formed above the water. The collector's ship was caught in its pull, their engines roaring as they tried to escape. I felt the strain as the core's energy consumed me, my consciousness dissolving into the light. The last thing I saw was the collector's ship vanishing into the void, the gateway closing behind it. The ocean fell silent. Months later, the world was still recovering. The oceans, once destabilized by the core's energy, began to heal. Humanity mourned the losses, but celebrated their survival. The vigilance was gone, and so was Captain Rogers, or so they thought. On a quiet beach in Florida, Lopez stood alone, staring at the horizon. She held a small, glowing shard, a fragment of the core that had washed ashore. "Still watching over us, aren't you?" she whispered, a faint smile on her lips. The shard pulsed gently, as if in response. Captain Rogers was gone, but his legacy endured, a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming odds, humanity could rise above and protect the world it called home.